guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. This is from a guy. He's 31 years old, he's active duty in the military, and he is 54 days away from his divorce being finalized. Free man. And he's going to share his story about the definite mistakes he made with wife number 2. And I'm mentioning wife number 2 because you're going to find out in the story, this isn't his first rodeo. He's been married twice now, and he's on the way to divorce, even though he's 31. Definitely made a lot of mistakes. But you're going to see in the story, guys, how this guy got together with this gal. She also was in the military, and really rushed into things and getting married. He thought he really knew her, thought that both of them had a lot of experiences and things would be different. Well, we all heard that one before. And at first, everything was great. And then her true colors started to come out. And when those true colors came out, they weren't good-looking, pretty colors. And what you're going to see here in the story is how she constantly had red flags going off left and right. And testing his boundaries, testing him, etc., etc. And the guy, although you could tell this guy, he's a good guy, and he obviously, when pushed too far, is going to fight back, still, he was too good and let stuff go. He didn't set boundaries with her, and it just got worse and worse and worse. But eventually, she pushes him too far, and he redeems himself by handling it well. And can you take a wild guess at what it was that she wanted to, what happened to push him too far? She wanted an open marriage. Imagine that, because we never heard that before in today's crazy world. So guys, I'm going to go through this story, and again, there are a lot of, aside from the entertainment factor, which I know more than half of you are here for, there are important lessons in this story to constantly to talk about. The importance of not rushing into a relationship. You can't do that. You need to take years before you even consider getting in a serious relationship to marry someone, okay? Even if you do that at all, which I think is nuts in today's world, years to really get to know her, because they can hide their true identities for a long, long time. 2, also the importance of setting and enforcing boundaries. If you don't do that, just like with children, they're going to be tested. Mark my words, especially when they start losing respect for you. The importance of paying attention to red flags and acting on them, checking her on her, calling her out on her BS and standing up for yourself, and of course, when a gal proposes an open marriage, open relationship, it's over. Because believe me, she ain't in love with you anymore. Because believe me, she wouldn't want any other woman touching you or one other guy on her. Women that are truly in love with their guys, no way. But that is just a way they can have their cake and eat it too situation. So, going to get into this guy's story here. I'm going to get into this deep, and I will point these things out along the way. So he starts off, he says, good morning. I've been watching your videos since my separation started. I wanted to share my current situation with you, as I hope that it might provide a perspective for other men. I am in no way infallible and understand that some red flags were definitely flown that I chose to ignore. As with all relationships and heartbreaks, I will move forward equipped with valuable knowledge. Yes, you will, bro. You will move on, and you will get over this, and you will be stronger. I'm just hoping next time around, you learn from all these mistakes you made, obviously, when you were younger, and don't do it again. Because if you as we're going to find out, you've been married twice now. There'll be 2 divorces by 31 years old. And you're out of your damn mind if you get married a third time. If you get married a third time, I'm going to find someone, either I'm going to track you down and slap the shit out of you, or I'm going to find somebody else that will do it for me. He says, background. I am 31 years old and previously divorced. 2-year marriage at 22 years old with high school friend / it was amicable with no debts or kids. I am active duty in the military, and after my first marriage, spent 2 years working on myself, deploying, and getting in fantastic shape. Well, good for you after that whole thing. Okay, you messed up, got married too young, and in the military. And by the way, how many stories have I done, guys? How many stories have I done, horror stories about dudes that got married in the military, too young, right here, and didn't exactly work out very well. You all remember them, and a lot of you military guys know exactly what I'm talking about, how it's a bad idea. Whenever I do these stories, you have probably between all the videos I've done on this, tens of thousands of comments from dudes all over the world saying, don't get married in the military, they cheat left and right. And it isn't just women that marry guys in the military, it's also women in the military that marry the guys themselves that are in the military. Anyway, he says he's spent 2 years working on himself, and that's really good. I was given an assignment in Washington, D.C., and started dating in the city. I eventually met my would-be current wife through a mutual friend. She is in the military as well, but lower rank, and we hit it off. We had fantastic dates, exploring everything the city had to offer. I enjoy going to Washington, D.C. Every time I go down there, I love seeing the museums and the sites and all that. I really enjoy it. Looking forward to going back. I haven't been there in years. She had parallel interests and values. Values? We'll see about that. I chose to overlook the fact that she had also been recently divorced. He says in parentheses, her ex cheated on her, and instead believed that the common divorce perspective would be valuable in building our relationship. Translation, I've been divorced, she's been divorced. We're now so enlightened because of that experience that the same mistakes that happened before won't happen again. That's probably what he's hoping and feeling. Fast forward, we became inseparable due to COVID. The city apartments limited how often non-residents could enter buildings during the onset of the pandemic, so she basically lived with me most of the time at my apartment. This is about 6 months into the relationship. 6 months into the relationship, because of the COVID situation, she essentially was living with you, moving in together after 6 months, smack. I get the situation was a little different then, but bad idea. Now, yeah, she wasn't on the lease, and yeah, she still had a place to go. That wasn't exactly the same, but still, 6 months. We did amazing during the stress of the lockdown and effortlessly teleworked, lived, and remained intimate in this small space. We believe that because our relationship has survived the pandemic, we'd be able to survive anything together. Well, you believe wrong, my friend. Well, remember, this is 6 months after you started dating, right? This is the honeymoon period. And what were a lot of people doing during the lockdowns actually had a good thing going with their wives or girlfriends, whatever. They were hooking up left and right. People were breeding like rabbits during that time period. It was like every other, this person, she's pregnant. Where'd it come from? Because nobody had anything else to do but watch Netflix, eat junk food, and fuck like rabbits. That's what was going on. Catholic rabbits. Breeding, and they started breeding like rabbits. This was the honeymoon period. It wasn't real life. We believe that because our relationship survived, blah, blah, blah. I'll fast forward again, and we got engaged and then married last July. Smack. That quickly, bro. Again, we could survive anything because of the, we were so close during the COVID lockdowns in the honeymoon period. You got to learn from the mistakes of the past. You obviously didn't learn from the first marriage. And I get nobody's perfect. And I know you own up to that you made mistakes. But still, guys, you can't rush into these things. You need years and years and years to truly get to know someone. What she's like with money. What she's like when situations arise. How is she communicating? Is she someone that tests me all the freaking time? What's her family like? What are her friends like? The list goes on and on before you actually make a serious thing of getting married to a woman. Because the second you get married, things change. And it doesn't work out. The courts aren't in your favor, guys. We had been long distance for about 8 months before the wedding and another 6 months after the wedding due to different base assignments and waiting for a joint spouse assignment. So you were hardly ever around each other, getting to know each other, which is so important. You thought you got to know her so well during the first 6 months of dating, and then the 6 months of staying together the whole time during lockdowns. Like, oh, that's it. We're a match made in heaven. No. Eventually, I was given orders to her base and moved in February. So you were given orders to go to her. Never a good idea. We got a base house, rent, and we're thrilled to finally build our home together. Adopted a cat, talked about her eventual separation from the military, and our future plans. Everything fell apart in May. Well, the only thing I like about this whole thing is that you adopted a cat, so good for you. As a cat lover or an animal lover, I'm very happy about that. Freaking motorcycles are going by. He says she changed. My wife had pretty severe anxiety and was usually tempered by my presence and willingness to navigate our social interactions. He says, I'd say I'm decently charismatic and it has been a key to my career progression. However, prior to me moving there, she began an SSRI antidepressant for anxiety, and it helped, but she still wanted to feel better. So in April, her doctor increased the dosage by double. Now that she's your wife, I'd want to have a conversation with this doctor. By the end of April, she had discussed the beginning of emotional numbness with me and the lack of sex drive. In hindsight, I should have immediately asked to talk to the doctor, but I was ignorant and had no experience with anyone taking a psychotropic drug. Instead, I said I would be here to support her and be ready when she felt better. You're being a good husband. I get that. Okay, I'm here to support you, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you should talk to the doctor, but again, you're young, you're inexperienced, you didn't know. One evening in early May, she told me she wanted to go have a going-away event for a unit member. I told her, please go have fun. I don't want to drink, and I'm instead going to play games with the boys. She left, and after texting her at about 9 p.m. that I was going to go to bed and that I loved her, I fell asleep in order to get to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning. I woke up at 1:30 a.m. to an empty bed, no texts, and the car in the driveway. Not good. I had a panic attack. I could not get a hold of her or any of her friends. My wife was never a drinker or partier. I did not know what happened, so I drove to the bar in question, and after describing my wife, the bartender confirmed her presence and departure an hour and a half earlier. Not freaking cool. This is the woman that he clicked so well with, who's so amazing and all that. Now they're living together. She's taken off. That is no respect. You're going to go out. You need to let the other one know, I'm okay. I'm with these people. Blah, blah, blah. I'll be home at this time period. Check-ins, all that. Show some freaking respect. Is she acting and behaving in a way like she cares or has respect for this guy? Nope. I went home, and no joke, was on the verge of calling the cops. She finally called me drunk and said I couldn't feel my phone while dancing. Bullshit. Your modern gal nowadays is constantly on their phone. Come on. I mean, you guys obviously go out. You go anywhere. People are always on their phone. And you go even to a restaurant or a bar or a place where there's dancing going on. People are still on their phone. And if they're not, believe me, they're going to whip that thing out of their pockets or purses within probably about 5 minutes, 5-minute intervals easily, and check to see. This is bullshit, okay? Guarantee she was ignoring him on purpose. And why, we may ask? Well, we will see. I asked her where she was and why she didn't text me, and she said she went bar hopping and didn't want to wake me up. Bullshit. She should know this guy well enough to know he'd want to know. Just a text. I'm okay. I'm at this place. That's it. I became livid. I demanded she come home, and admittedly, I screamed in anger that was driven by fear. Dude, you had a right to read her the riot act. That was disrespect, not cool. I don't blame you. I did not get physical, but I just went to the gym at 3 o'clock in the morning to cool off. She ended up apologizing but said she had more events to go to in the coming weeks. I'd be like, you're on probation, honey. And if you're going to go to some things, I'm going with you this time. I said all I wanted is communication to know she is safe, but I voiced concern with the sudden increase in binge drinking and said I was uncomfortable with it. I would do a lot more than saying you're uncomfortable with it. Say this is not what I married. But remember, guys, right here, he said all I wanted was communication, and he doesn't like the binge drinking. These are things that you find out when you're with somebody for a long time before they get married. This is why I talk about that. Communication. How is she communicating? How is she with her? Who are her friends? Is all of a sudden I'm going to find out that she's a binge drinker? See what I'm talking about? Let her find out that with you, binge drinking and that type of lifestyle is not acceptable. Not what you want to marry. But when you rush into things, because you're in the honeymoon period, these things don't come up, and then you're hitched, and here we are. See? And he said, parentheses, I rarely drink at all. Over the next 2 weeks, she would go out on Friday and Saturday and come home progressively later. You should not have been allowing that, man. You should have been laying down the law. She's testing your boundaries, but the question is, did you set boundaries and enforce boundaries? Very important, guys. She stopped wearing her wedding ring with excuses like it's too hot and my hand swells, and everyone knows I'm married anyway. What a load of bullshit. Again, now maybe you were saying something about this, but this shouldn't have been allowed. See the testing, guys? See the testing of the boundaries, just like the way children test their parents. See how much shit they can get away with before the parent yells at them, right? That's why I compare women to children, or at least most women to children. I said, I don't care, and I want you to wear it for my sake. She didn't. She frequently chose to sleep on the couch instead of the bed and stated that before you moved in, I love sleeping on the couch and only wanted to sleep in the bed because you like me to. I began to feel this pit of despair and anxiety as the triggers piled up. Dude, I'm sorry you're going through this shit, but again, this is what you if you didn't rush into marriage, you would have picked up on a lot of this weird shit over the, because nobody can hide who they really are forever. They can hide for a long time, but it will slowly come out. That's why you take years to get together. Likes to sleep on the couch. Nobody likes to sleep on the goddamn couch. Come on here. Memorial Day weekend, she went out again and came home at 4 o'clock in the morning reeking of alcohol. She giggled and said, I might have made out with another woman. I got up to leave the house. She couldn't understand that it was wrong in my eyes because guys fetishize it. Later I returned home, explained why it's a double standard for women to be physical with each other and it should not be called cheating. It is cheating. Now there are a lot of dudes to be turned on by a couple of hot chicks making out, but still, if it's your girlfriend or wife, that is cheating. In my opinion, it's not as bad with another dude, especially if she's hot, but still it's cheating. I said I had not established that boundary, but would from now on. She looked me in the eye and said, I want a selfish phase. I want a selfish phase? Gee, I'm wondering where she's getting all these ideas from. Now, some of you may be thinking, oh, it's a reaction to the medication and all the alcohol or medication. I don't give a shit. She's an asshole. She wanted to go explore herself, and while not 100% committing to physical and intimate interactions with both sexes, and she refused to limit herself. I want to go explore myself and refuses to limit herself? Does this sound like someone that respects her husband? Does this sound like a woman who's in love with her guy? Nope, not at all. She has no respect for him. She's lost it all, if it was even there to begin with. And again, I don't care about the alcohol and the drugs, and maybe that is affecting her brain chemistry. Who the fuck knows? But regardless, she's a train wreck, and this guy deserves better. I had her admit she wanted an open relationship, and she told me that I could have one too. I said, I will start going out with you, partying, and doing this journey with you. But until I know that we are solid, I will not revisit the conversation of other people in our relationship. I stood my ground on this for about 3 more conversations over the holiday weekend. So you had multiple conversations on this particular subject just that weekend alone. Bro, at that moment, after all the bullshit she's been pulling, that would have been time to pull the plug. It's over. Her actions, not words, actions and words demonstrate she has no respect for you. She doesn't give a shit. She enjoys what you get from her, what you provide, nothing more. She wants to have her cake and eat it too. And I'd like to ask, what are her friends like? Are all the girls she hangs out with, are they all single? Are they all carousel riders? What age are they? This is why it's so important, guys, to pay attention to who your girl or wife hangs out with. It is going to affect your relationship. Mark my freaking words. Should have walked away right then and there. Or at least walk away and then start planning the great escape. I continue to say how this behavior was frightening and the mixing of her medication and alcohol may be the cause. She justified it with other women doing the same thing and her single friends liking the new her. Single friends. And they're liking the new her. Translation, we're single. We don't like that we're probably single deep down, so we want to sabotage our little friend here so that she can be single just like us, and we don't have to feel like losers because we don't have a man or a guy helping with the bills or something like that. She further admitted to having danced with other men at clubs and being absolutely ignorant to the existence of emotional cheating. Bullshit. If this dude was out someplace and he was dancing with a bunch of hot-looking chicks hotter than her, and you tell me she wouldn't have a problem with this or wouldn't call it cheating, you bet your ass she would. At this point, my self-esteem is pretty much crushed. A month ago, this woman was talking about our future and is now saying she's tired of being rational and wants to be irrational. I'm going to read that again because I know you guys are all laughing. She said she's tired of being rational and wants to be irrational. I think that is the line of the week. And right there, that line, that thinking, remember how many guys think it's a good idea to let their wives or girlfriends lead the relationship or really lead important things? And that's the type of thing that some of these gals think. Keep that in mind. I asked about therapy, talking to her doctor, exploring options for our intimacy that wouldn't involve others. You asked? There should be no asking. If you're her husband, at this point, you're demanding. If you're going to be with me, this is what you're going to do. But the reality is, it is over. She denied wanting any of it. I told her that's fine. I'm divorcing her. Thank the Lord. Thank you. Bro, you've gotten your man card back. You were losing it, but you got it back. She cried and said, can we still be friends? I smiled and said, not a chance in hell. Since then, I took everything I had prior to the marriage, and we have not merged our property/finances yet, as it had made sense to keep it separated while not living together. Thank God you did not merge your assets into a single account and all that. Thank God, bro. I now live in a new apartment in the nearby city, going to therapy and trying to look at the future. The hardest part was remembering her words when I showed her the wedding photos, and she said she couldn't remember how she felt despite seeing the smile she had in the photo. Her family is stunned, my family is stunned, and worst of all, I feel blindsided. I know there were flags, and I chose to ignore them. I'm humbled and seeing with a clear vision unlike any other point in my life. I appreciate your time reading my story. Just doing this is in a sense of a minute closure as I wait for 54 days until the judge signs the decree of dissolution. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Well, bro, that is quite a story, and I really appreciate you sending it in, because I know obviously it was tough because you have to relive all this shit, and obviously now I'm going to have comments about this, and other dudes are. Okay, in 54 days, you're officially a free man. Going forward, you need to do some serious soul searching and working on yourself. No freaking relationships for a long time for you, sir. I want you focusing on your grind, your purpose, figuring out what that is if you don't know what it is, working hard, getting back into good shape if you maybe lost some of your good shape, hanging out with your buddies, hanging out with family. If you got some vacation time coming up, maybe going on, doing some traveling, doing some soul searching, stuff like that, and figure things out. Figure out where you went wrong. You're going to therapy, so that's good. And that can help unravel some things. And to make sure that you don't do this again. But I would recommend, because I know you said you started watching this, my channel, and I'm guessing other channels recently, really immersing yourself in this type of content to really help hear stories and examples that sound familiar, where you went wrong, and try to dig in why you handled things the way you did. Because obviously, I can tell you're obviously a good guy, and you mean well, and you're being good to her and want to be supportive and everything. But the problem is that there are plenty of times that you obviously look the other way, or you didn't check her when you should have. You didn't establish boundaries. You didn't enforce boundaries in a way that she knew you meant business. And again, the biggest thing is how you rushed into it. And I think you need to dig in to question why you felt the need to rush into it. You don't need a wife, dude, okay? You can be happy. And in fact, the happiest people that I get stories from or comments from or write me their emails are people that aren't married, that have been through this shit and are now free and living their life as they want. Some of them date, and they keep a distance from the gal in terms of they're not going to get that serious. Other ones that don't. You need to figure out what works best for you. But for all that is sacred and holy, you are banned from marriage for at least 10 years until you master. And even then, I think that is a very bad idea. But right now, no relationships. But anyhow, bro, I'm really glad to hear at the end, finally, when she tried the open relationship crap and all that, done. But your story here will help a lot of guys out, because a lot of guys will hear this story and they'll now know what to do. They'll now know not to rush into things. Take years. They'll now know to set boundaries and enforce them. They'll now know when she starts acting a certain way, you check her. Because when guys act weak, when guys act too nice and let her walk all over him, they lose more and more respect. Women do not respect weakness. They resent weakness. They are drawn to strength. And you got to be a leader and take charge, and you can't give an inch. It's the same thing with children. I know I keep coming back to this whole thing comparing women to children, but there are a lot of similarities with the emotions and testing and that type of crap. And believe me, you got some good gals out there that are definitely a hell of a lot better than the ones we cover in these stories on this channel, these stories and all. But that's rare. And even then, they're going to test you. Even then, there's going to be a little bit of drama. Even then, they still want you to lead and all that. And if you don't, bullshit starts. So take this tough experience, bro. Learn from it. That's the best you can do and move forward. And I know you can do well. So, all right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me just think about this. And by the way, guys, if you'd like to hear an update to the story, to see how he's doing, to see what's going on with her, anything like that, let this guy know in the comment section if you like, if there are any potential updates, because you all know how this all works. Usually, with these types, there's always an update, at least one, if not many. Let this guy know you enjoyed it, and I'm sure down the road, if there are any worthy updates, he'll send me an email, and I'll share it with you fine folks one day down the road. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.